traders at Axis Bank expect an active market today as investors continue to cherry-pick on-the-run bonds. Now, for the T-bill side, they anticipate a quiet market as investors exercise caution in light of a possible OMO auction announcement from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Tobechukwu Ikpe, Treasury Team Member at Axis Bank, joins me now for more market movement. Tobe, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Let's start the conversation with the liquidity dip we're seeing here. Irrespective of the FAC inflows, we're seeing the decline owing to the bond auction settlement and other remittances to the CBN. Walk us through this and then why investors are staying cautious ahead of this likely OMO auction announcement from the CBN.
Hi, thank you for having me, David. So this week we've seen the week start with liquidity levels are just around 1 trillion naira negative, which means that banks are largely borrowing from the CBN. And in conjunction with that, there was also an OMO auction, an NTB auction and a bond auction. The bond auction was on Monday and the settlement was on Wednesday. And there was an NTB auction as well of 374 billion on Wednesday, and the settlement was on Thursday. So this took out more liquidity from the system despite the maturities and the FAC inflows from the NTB and the Federal Executive Council. We saw those liquidity levels remain negative up until today, where it is now positive. And given that it's about 180 billion naira positive today, there's a possibility that the CBN might conduct an OMO auction to mop up this liquidity, as they have said that they want to continue to tighten liquidity levels in the system to tackle inflation and keep interest rates elevated. So that's what we've been seeing in the liquidity space so far this week.
And now let's touch on how investors are also looking at the different instruments across the curve now. For the T-bills and bond papers, what's getting investors' interest? Walk us through the quotes we've seen so far. For example, the 2031, 2033 bonds. How are investors walking along those lines?
So the 33s was taken off the calendar for this month's bond auction. So the new on the run bonds are the 2029 paper and the 2031 paper. The 2031 paper closed at 21.74 at the auction this week, while the 29s closed at 20.74. The 31s, closed at 21.74. So we've seen investors take advantage of those high-yielding bond papers, and it has traded down to around 20.2 today as banks, pension funds, and other asset managers purchase those bonds from the secondary market. For the T-bill space, we've seen where on the belly of the curve, where there's a huge supply of maturities from February to May. If you recall, earlier this year, that's when the CBN and DMO were selling huge chunks of T-bills of around 1 trillion outstanding on those papers, the February, April, and May papers. So February, March, April, and May papers. So we've seen those bills largely offered in the Treasury bill secondary market, as some market participants look to raise liquidity by selling all those bills. So investors, on the other hand, know that everybody is strapped for cash and they are looking to cherry pick those securities at very high yields, trading around 22 to 23% currently.
Well, Tobechukwu would have to leave the conversation here for now. In the FX space, we're still seeing the Naira trade against the greenback at about above 1,600, but we'll definitely catch up with much more updates on that as we look towards the rest of the month of September and how the rest of the fourth quarter pans out. Thanks a lot for your time on the show today. That was Tobechukwu Ikpe, Treasury Team Member at Axis Bank.